Good afternoon to the East Coast and good morning to the West Coast from a cloudy June day in Charlotte, North Carolina. My name is Kurt Luke and I run the Business Intelligence and Analytics practice for Pactera. And welcome to the webinar covering Advanced Sales Insight with Predictive and Visual Analytics. This is another webinar in our series of business intelligence presentations. I want to do a few quick housekeeping items. The first is, if you have any questions, then just type those into the side panel. We'll make all attempts to answer those questions at the end of the presentation, and if we don't get to those, we will certainly get to you after the presentation. Secondly, we're going to have some poll questions along the presentation, so participate if you'd like. All answers will be kept anonymous. But it always makes for a more fun presentation. I want to turn the presentation over for a few minutes to Robin MacArthur from Tibco Spotfire, the company. As a quick introduction, Robin's worked within the CPG and R space, and we're going to use that acronym all the way through this presentation for CPG plus retail companies. So Robin's worked in this space for the past 20 years. With leading roles within Safeway, Musgraves, Nielsen, and IRI, amongst just a few. Robin recently joined Spotfire in the UK to actually lead the CPG and R vertical. So take it away, Robin, and I'll be back in just a few.
Thanks a lot, Kurt, and good afternoon to everybody. If you could just advance to slide one. Okay, great, thank you. So at Spotfire, we basically help our customers to be first to insight and first to action. And Vivek Rayadev, our CEO, had the notion of the 2-second advantage, and we help deliver that. The 2-second advantage is basically having a little bit of the right information, just a little bit, just before your competitors, is more valuable than all the information in the world 6 months later. And that's a mantra that we really live by at Spotfire and Tibco. We're helping many of the world's leading organizations, and many can be seen on the logos of this screen, uncover insights and make better decisions more quickly. We help our customers anticipate and act on answers to relevant questions at speed, and we have changed the way many companies and people are making decisions in business today. If you can move on, thanks. Spotfire bridges the gap between what we call traditional BI tools and statistics. Traditional business intelligence tools have really focused on reporting. And whilst those legacy systems have their place within businesses, they really only access and answer predetermined questions. Frequently, a lot of users must rely on IT to create new reports or add new data sets, to answer the why things have happened rather than simply just what. And many are just dumping data into Excel to speed up that process. The other side of the gap is statistical programming packages for mining deep and vast data sources. These require lots of IT and analytical involvement, meaning the typical business user really cannot leverage the full power of analytics in today. So Spotfire fills this precise need for business users who are forced basically by the shortcomings of BI. And we do that by enabling a platform to help them drill up, drill down, drill across, free of dimension constraints and free of IT, and leverage analytics without being a PhD. They can find answers to the unknown unknowns. This has been the vision behind Spotfire, and we have been recognized by Gartner, Forrester, and many other leading analysts as being among the most visionary products year after year. If you move on, please. We basically add value in 4 areas. Our focus is on speed, discovery, user empowerment, but balanced with IT control and governance and enterprise-wide applicability. So if we look at these 4 quadrants on this slide, at the top left-hand side of your screen, we've got universal adaptability. This is about leveraging a single analytics tool and data discovery platform to empower everyone in the business, anywhere, to make insightful decisions. And at Spotfire, we have use cases across finance, HR, marketing, and sales. Visibility into the unknown at the top right is about immediately identifying strategic business opportunities or threats by quickly discovering unexpected insights that may be hidden in big data or real-time events. Self-service discovery at the bottom left. This is about enabling users to explore data freely to any level of detail. It's about accelerating decision-making whilst dramatically reducing dependence on IT departments. And at the bottom right, it's about fastest actionable insights. This is speed with agility. We help users find and turn insights into action by enabling them to rapidly discover insight and quickly collaborate that across their business using our web player. So they're the 4 areas of the quadrant that we really add value to. A great example of this is a case study for Procter & Gamble. If we could just advance the slide, or maybe it's just my WebEx is a bit slow this side of the Atlantic. This is the picture you can see at the top right is Procter & Gamble, one of Procter & Gamble's business spheres, and we've helped Procter & Gamble enable these. They have a number of these across the business. And Spotfire is used as the key interactive management dashboard in every management review globally, where Procter & Gamble, within these rooms across their business, can drill down from country to category to brand to SKU. And this has increased their ability to make decisions and have cut P&G's cycle times from weeks to days. We enable Procter & Gamble to have a single version of the truth. We give them meaningful competitive advantage. We optimize their business across consumer segments, retail channels, and geographies. We allow them within these business spheres to run what-if scenarios to anticipate business outcomes. And they can really harness the value of their data and drive insight. And I can assure you this is big data. However, in today's webcast, what we want to do with our partner Pactera is to show you how you can harness big data and predictive analytics in your business today. Kat, over to you. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks so much, Robin, for that great introduction to Spotfire and a quick case study on P&G. A quick introduction to Pactera. Pactera is a large system integrator with over 24,000 employees across 35 offices globally. We always like to joke that we're the largest company you've never heard of. But as you can see, we've got quite a presence across, frankly, the world. Our services range from BI analytics, CRM, digital media, to QA testing and localization. We are an end-to-end consulting firm, both onshore and offshore. And if you're interested, our NASDAQ symbol is PACT. All right, so let's go ahead and get to this exciting topic. Creating an organization with advanced sales insights through predictive and visual analytics. The presentation was built with the underlying premise that customer interactions are difficult but vital to understand. CPG organizations must leverage all possible information, not just some of the information, if they have any hope of making a one-to-one sales a reality. The bulk of this presentation, shouldn't be a surprise, will be covering how Spotfire is a vital part of that mission. So we're breaking it down into 3 easy steps. And I know this is an oversimplification, but step 1 is to gather the data. So we're going to talk a little bit about the data architecture and data ecosystem. Step 2 is going beyond simple sum and averages and applying predictive analytics. We'll talk a little bit about that. Step 3 is the last step, and that's visualizing your data. The webinar will feature a demonstration of Tibco Spotfire, the product. In fact, we're going to spend quite a bit of time actually looking at the product and how it brings all three of these pieces together. If you've not seen a demonstration of the product, I know that you're going to walk away gaining a lot of interest. And if we don't cover any topics for specific things that you were seeking, then by all means, reach out and let us know. We'll create a customized demonstration. But let's start with the business problem, and let's go ahead and get started. So, all right. Great. So customers are irrational. And if you disagree with that statement, then you are not in retail. We need, frankly, every possible portion of data to help make the best decisions. So if you've not read this book, Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow by Daniel Kahneman, I'd highly recommend it. It's a thick book, but it's actually very, very interesting. But not to be a spoiler to it, the book's central thesis is that there's a dichotomy between two modes of thought. System one is that fast, instinctive, and emotional. It's when I ask you what color is an apple, that's system one clicking in when you say, oh, an apple's red. System two is slower, more deliberate, and more logical. So when I ask you something like, what's 248 plus 16, you can certainly do it. In fact, you can even do it in your head. But it's a more deliberate part of your brain that goes to work. So let's start off with a fun poll. Go ahead and put the poll up. Let me introduce Linda. Linda is young, single, outspoken, and very bright. As a student, she was deeply concerned with discrimination and social justice. Her current job is a bank teller. So, is it more probable that Linda is a bank teller or that she's a bank teller and an active feminist? All right, go ahead and answer the poll question. Okay, so the overwhelming historic response in this study was that people answered that she was a feminist bank teller, not that she was just a bank teller, violating really the laws of probability. In other words, it's more probable that she was not a feminist and simply just a bank teller. The book goes on to discuss why this is an incorrect decision, blah, blah, blah. But it basically gets to the heart of the fact that a lot of times what we think people will do or how we act isn't rational. All right, so let's look at the results. Yep. Interesting. So obviously I can't create the results, but you all followed right along with what the book said. So very, very interesting. Hopefully you enjoy the polls as we go through. My main objective today, let's go ahead and flip to the next slide, is to demonstrate how CPG and retail organizations must build analytic solutions that involve all data, apply predictive analytics, and visualize the data for best visibility. Okay, so you should be looking at a number of statistics up here. Probably not terribly surprising. In the year 2013, I don't think these numbers are terribly different, unfortunately, than they really were probably 5 to 10 years ago. Slightly disheartening. To me, the most troubling number is the 42% not being able to link data together, but that's probably just a factor of every time we seem to catch up, there's more variety and velocity and volume of data. I don't think every company would rate themselves this low. In fact, we were working with a number of companies that are doing quite well, but a lot of it is following these three steps to building an advanced sales analytic engine. So let's go ahead. All right, so the first step in here is to go ahead and build a data infrastructure. This is something that will never be fully realized. We all know that, but we need to continue to add all the data that we possibly can so that we have a robust plan to create, or should I say capture, all of the data. Go ahead. All right, so don't worry, I'm not going to go through the 4 V's or 5 V's, or I've even seen 7 V's, but let's take a quick poll. At this time, is your organization engaging in true big data solutions? All right, so while you're answering that, let me just go on a little bit more. There's a lot of fatigue, I know, around the 4 Vs. My only point for this slide is that retailers cannot ignore the data. We recently attended a big data conference in Chicago around retail, and it really highlighted how some of the leading-edge retail companies were engaging in true big data solutions. Some were not, but many of them were. So I'm interested to see what the results of this from the crowd here. Very interesting stuff from the presentations. And I think a lot of people kind of kick back on the big data discussion, basically with, what's one tweet really going to tell me about their customers. But again, the leading edge companies are really engaging this and doing some very, very interesting things around this. One tweet really means nothing, but all the tweets together, all the Facebook, everything else looks really means something. So go ahead and let's look at the results. I'm curious. All right, so that's from the statistics that I've seen, this looks very similar to where typically the market is. So this is a pretty good sampling. All right, let's go ahead. Okay, so this next page, don't let it scare you, but this is a Tibco presentation, and I really wanted to highlight how Tibco supports the full gamut of data collection. We're going to demonstrate the front, or I should say the top portion of this, so the Spotfire professional and player portion. We're not, during this presentation, going to talk in too much more depth on the other components, sort of the pieces that are underlying it. But I want to highlight a couple of main topics, and that is the advanced data services, which is on the bottom left. So this is basically how you can use not Tibco Spotfire necessarily, but some other components within Tibco to get to things like SAP, Salesforce, web services, and Hadoop. So for all the big data conversations, that would definitely come into play. The Spotfire statistic services, which is down at the bottom, the second pink box. This is the engine that empowers R for statistical analysis. The R engine basically allows the end user to use highly sophisticated algorithms without really having to understand all of the details. Your company's data scientists, if you have them, can leverage their R expertise and then use that engine to share that with the rest of the organization. All right. So bottom line, you don't need to understand, and I'm not going to go over many more aspects of this slide, but I want you to walk away from the presentation understanding that the Tibco Spotfire is just the visualization and the front end, which is integrated with a lot of other great components. Okay, so let's go ahead. All right, so the next piece in our 3 easy steps, the second step is really talking around predictive analytics. And to me, predictive analytics, you all read it, but it's true, is really the secret sauce for retailers. There are 3 pictures on this page, and the first picture is actually on the next slide, so I'm not going to discuss that yet. The second picture highlights the fact that the predictive analytics is the intersection between people, technology, and business. And it's a little hard to read on there, but it really is just talking about the fact that our goal is to create a fantastic customer experience, but of course remain within the boundaries of business viability and technology limits. In other words, we all want to create a one-to-one great experience, but if we were going to do that without any kind of business view, we would send a salesperson to every single person in the world. Obviously, that's not possible. But so technology allows us to get much, much closer to that one-to-one experience. But the real power around this is using predictive analytics. So that third picture is really just a pictorial look at the fact that have a methodology for your predictive analytics. This isn't new stuff for certain industries. It's probably a little bit newer in the retail space. All right, go. Okay, so let's take a quick poll. What level are you at? My prediction is that most people are going to be right around a little past the diagnose and into the model and predict. I think there's probably pockets of people and departments in certain areas where we're really into the automate. But I think for the most part, a lot of organizations are still at the diagnose, and a lot of the business discovery or traditional business intelligence is really at this level of why did it happen. Okay, so go ahead and answer that real quick, and then we'll move on. And while you're doing that, we deal with a lot of retail organizations, and frankly, just a lot of outside of even retail industry. And a lot of the questions is sort of how do we get started with predictive analytics? I'll give you some real quick, simple steps for our customers that want to start. We offer a number of kind of workshops where we come in, but you can obviously do this internally, to really just brainstorm around problems that cannot be solved. Once we have those business problems that weren't achievable through just traditional methods, at that point we want to start with a small data sample. You don't need to have a full set of data to at least get started. Then the second step is to build some models. And yes, you probably need some data scientists or some assistants potentially in that area if you don't have that in-house. Then this is very, very iterative. So use the models to generate predictions. See if you think it would improve the customer, your company's performance. Check potentially on how more data might actually help. And then check to see if there's more sophisticated models that beat the previous models. So in other words, get started, try something, and then do something else to see if you can beat even what you came up with. Iterate it. Do this several times. And then finally, once you all agree, then pick a safe area to apply actionable insights. Let's go ahead and look at the results from that. Okay, good. So that's actually surprising to me, probably a factor of the people on this audience. I think most retailers are more at the diagnose level, but that's great. All right. Let's go ahead to the next slide. Okay, so no surprise, we're focusing on predictive analytics because Tibco is the leading vendor in enabling predictive analytics in combination with visual analytics. And Spotfire has quite a lot to say in this area. They heavily engage in the open source R community, and they've basically built an enterprise runtime engine for R, as it says right up there on the slide. The great part about Tibco Spotfire is that while your data scientist can certainly leverage the engine within Spotfire, there's a lot of built-in components that you don't have to be a data scientist to leverage this. So, all right, so let's go ahead to the next slide. So now the fun stuff. The final step of gaining advanced sales insight is the visual aspect. We've got a few pictures down below. There are a lot of different case studies of companies using Tibco Spotfire. Could be within the retail space. It could be within sales and marketing, operations, HR, engineering, finance. So we've seen a lot of different departments. A lot of it usually starts within the sales and marketing, but then moves on to other aspects. All right. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide because I actually want to jump right into the demonstration. But there are 5 differentiators for Spotfire versus some of the other products within the the business discovery area. Those would be dimension-free data exploration. So Spotfire is an in-memory data engine that allows you basically to flip between dimensions. Data mashup. So we're going to show you during this demonstration how you can pull various different things, geospatial, demographic information, and combine that with all of your internal information. And then along with that is Spotfire's data on demand. So the product has the ability to run in memory, which is sort of the hottest thing right now, and they've been doing that for a while. But they also have the capability of going straight to a database. So they're not limited by the in-memory capability. The third is predictive and event-driven, and we're going to look at some of the predictive analytics capabilities. The fourth is Spotfire's collaboration. So the ability, we didn't talk about Tibber much, but think of Tibber as sort of the social media, or I should say probably Facebook of business. So it allows a lot of collaboration. And then the fifth is Spotfire's the fact that it's enterprise class. So as you can see from the one picture that might have looked a little scary, there's a lot of components. What we're going to be covering and what all the business users will be using will be a very, very friendly and visually pleasing yet powerful tool. But the Tibco company has a number of other components that can create some fantastic solutions to create what a lot of you all might need, and that is real-time analytics. All right, so we're gonna have a slight pause here while we flip over. All right. So hopefully everybody can see that. All right. So there were a lot of different examples that I could have used. But what I've chosen to do today is to use an application called Channel Insights. If this one doesn't satisfy you, there's a lot of different other applications that are out on Tibco's site, but I think this will cover a number of topics that will be very interesting to this type of audience. So the first thing that really hits you visually is the growth matrix, which is a scatter plot, and each marker on here basically shows one particular retailer. So I can hover over that, and you can see that the store ID comes up and a number of other pieces of information, and you can customize that to your heart's desire to show different pieces of information. I'm going to unmark that by just clicking out here. And I'll just stop right here and say that everything within this application can be customized to what you are seeking. I hope that as we go through this, you'll see a good story going through it, but I want you to understand that it's your data and your story to create. So there's a lot of different ways to visualize this. This is just a sample application. All right, on the left here, we can see really just a text box that shows us a little bit about this data and what it means. So the retailers where our product is showing growth over last year in a growing market can be identified as the upper left quadrant, and they're AKA our stars. There's some cash cows, but you know what? It's always more enjoyable to kick the people who are down. Let's talk about the dogs. So I'm going to lasso this group right here, and you can see that the application immediately sort of springs to life. You can see that I've marked, that's the term here, or selected using basically a lasso, the dogs. And so quickly from left to right, we can see that we can look at this from a geospatial perspective, which I think is incredibly powerful. And I'll just also highlight the fact that this is a great start to looking at something geospatially. Tibco Spotfire has a number of other ways to look at this, and they've also recently acquired a great product that takes this to even the next level of detail. So definitely let us know if you'd like to talk about that. But so within here, we also have a number of other perspectives of looking at this, and I think for the most part those are self-explanatory. I'll also highlight while I'm in here that you can click on this filter component over here, and in conjunction with what we've selected, we can say, you know what, we want to look at the Northeast. So immediately, of course, this clicks down. We've got our Midwest, Southeast, and so everything changes within that. Hopefully that makes sense. And I want to go on to the next page here. Oh, one other thing I meant to mention is the social collaboration that you can do within here. So right here, as I selected this group here, I could go up here to the bookmarks and basically create a new bookmark on top of this data. And then I can recall that, I can send that and share that with people. There's a number of other ways. As I mentioned, you also can use Tibber, which is sort of a more advanced social collaboration with this product. All right, so let's go on to what's called the grand view. All right, so the first thing that hits you here is this look at what Tibco calls a heat map, or I should say a tree map. I actually prefer heat map, but the term in Spotfire land is tree map. So what we're first hit with is the fact that it looks like California is doing very well, and that California is a very, very substantial part of our business. So probably good news, but you know where I'm going to go with this. If we can use this hierarchy component right here to basically say, let me see the next level of detail. Now we're looking at the same data, but we've moved down a level, and I'm looking now at this one particular region within there that is not doing so well. So the way that this page is laid out is basically to hit you with the big information, allow you to drill down into the detail, and you're basically moving from this section to this section to this section. So it's all linked, but it's linked differently than the previous page. So again, you have a lot of different ways that you can lay it out. It really comes down to what makes the best sense for your business. So in this case, I'm going to sort this just by double-clicking here. And I'm going to click on San Diego, which obviously appears to be the larger of the problems. And now I'm looking at the raw details of this. And of course, yes, this can be all exported out to Excel and PowerPoint and a number of other things. So, but this is a great kind of story of how we move from the high level, identify a particular issue, move down to a particular city, and then move down to individual stores. All right. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next tab here. This is looking at the data in a different manner. I want you to kind of look this over real quick. So the first thing I'll call out, as with all of the pages that are well designed, it should start really from the top and move down to tell the story as you move down through. This particular object right here is very, very dynamic. So you can see that I can click on state or region or territory, and I can also click down here on these different metrics. So for example, right here, if I looked at this is year 1 versus year 2, I can now scroll down and look at different areas and see potentially what might be a a problem. So if I looked at grocery, click on that, that was identified as a potential problem. With the next portion down here, for all of you all who have retail stores or promotions, what this is saying is that, you know what, we have a problem in grocery. With this portion right here, and you'd have to get a little bit of kind of the backstory, and the backstory is that the different stores were supposed to run a number of promotions. So based on the market conditions, they were supposed to run 10 promotions or 5 promotions or some level of they were supposed to run a number of promotions based on the market conditions. So what this is telling me is that there are 21 retailers that basically went one above what they were supposed to do. So if I click on these guys, this is basically this one retailer who did not do what he was supposed to do. And you can see that he basically has a negative 100 store share change year 1 to year 2. As I click through here, hopefully you're seeing this as I move through here. But basically what we see from the data is that in this case, obviously, and the whole point is that I want you to encourage you to do this type of analysis. But in this case, you would be seeing that at 5 promotions over what was originally scheduled for to do, it seems like it's making an impact on the brand share change. So in other words, the guys who basically did more than they were supposed to do are seeing a result, a positive result. But those that did just what they were supposed to or a little more actually did not see that much of an impact. So this next piece right here is really showing the share change versus promotions, and I don't want to run out of time, so I'm gonna move on. But this one's probably the most sophisticated look at things, but it actually tells a very similar story, but powerful story that backs up what's being said right here. So very interesting way of laying this out from top down and over to the right. All right. So what we're looking at here is a great example of data mashups. Okay, so not surprising if I click on population over 50, guess what? Florida. If I look at the percent married, this is a little more interesting. It looks like the Heartland has a better marriage rate. So if you want to stay married, move to the Heartland. Hispanic, again, probably not terribly surprising, more heavy on the borders. All right, so if we stuck with the let's say over 50, when we click on Florida, you begin to see the sort of that data mashup that we're talking about. So we're combining demographic data from companies like Nielsen, IRI, things like that can be merged with internal data. And I think that is absolutely what's necessary. I suspect most of you have been doing that for a while, but I'd encourage you, if you're not already, begin making it geospatial, begin merging all of that data together. All right. I want to very quickly go to this last and probably most confusing, and I'm telling you right up front that we're not going to cover all of the capabilities of Spotfire. I'm really just hitting the tip of this. So what we're looking at here is basically a regression model that allows you to really look at the effects of various factors on the overall change in market share from brand A. And you can sort of see the model right here and some of the information about how it was created. To develop the page, we used TARE. And I don't know if I mentioned TARE, the acronym, before, but TARE stands for Tibco Enterprise Runtime for R. I definitely mentioned the fact that Spotfire is very, very integrated with R. So this page right here is basically showing a sample model where you can very, very quickly see, even for the non-data scientists, can see that the promotions that we were just looking at had a positive effect. Now, we know from looking at the other page that it's not all promotions, but it's a certain level of promotions. But that had a 2.71 promotion, or a 2.71 positive effect. The salesperson experience had a 2.21 effect in a positive direction. New salesperson, actually negative, and the worst was this ACE promotions. Okay, so I'm going to end right there with this demonstration. Again, this is just a really quick 10-15 minute look at the product, but hopefully you get this has really increased your interest in looking at this in more detail. So I'm going to flip back over. All right, so I want to end really with some additional use cases. Hopefully this may spark some interest in other areas within that you might be interested in. But basically this is breaking retail organizations and looking at everything from marketing optimization to brand and business insight. A lot of different areas that you could look at within CPG and R. And this doesn't even mention, HR, finance, and other things. So a lot of different use cases. All right, so how to get started? If you have not used Tibco before and have interest in doing it, we are basically offering a no-cost, no-commitment offer. We'll sign an NDA. You send us the data. We'll work with you. We'll build out some models, build out a POC, and then you can take it from there. Typical projects, which is pretty interesting within the business intelligence realm, is that these projects are typically about 6 to 8 weeks in duration, and I said weeks, not months. That's one of the interesting things about the business discovery space versus traditional BI. And then, of course, we offer ongoing support. All right, so really appreciate everybody's attendance, and we've gotten a few questions in. And I will just read these off and dole them out to Robin, and I'll take a few myself. So the first question is, how can I use the existing modeling platforms within Spotfire? Robin, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Kurt. Yeah, as you said already throughout the presentation and also on the architecture diagram that you showed, that through the Tibco stats services, or for the Spotfire stats services, that can basically call out to a number of different languages and a number of different modules. So you can really leverage your existing investments. Currently, we work with SAS, MATLAB. Obviously, you've mentioned R, S+, and obviously now the Tibco Enterprise Runtime for R, which is basically a wrapper that we've built around the R language to make it enterprise ready. And I think, obviously SAS and MATLAB very, very powerful. But we're noticing now a lot of graduates are coming out of school or college with a university over in the UK with really deep R skills. And within Spotfire, they can really use that straight out of the box. And then share those models right across the business and get them really in the hands of the business user. So yeah, we can really build on your current estate via the Spotfire Statistical Services piece and leverage your existing models.
Okay, thanks, Robin. The next question, and I guess I'll take this one. Do you need data scientists to make Tibco Spotfire work? No, you don't. Hopefully I was clear on that, but let me try to clarify. First of all, you can build simple graphs, charts, load data in with very little effort, and you certainly do not need to be a data scientist by any stretch. The second thing I'd say is that there are a number of built-in functions that can basically take people who aren't actually data scientists and make them appear to be with a lot of the built-in functions that come straight out of the box. And I've used other products within the space, and I can tell you that there are no other products that have as many built-in functions with that. Now, all of what I just stated is absolutely true, but the third thing I'll say within here is that I think retailers must be, and actually the poll that we took looked like a lot of you are, engaging within a higher level of predictive analytics, which would probably involve some data scientist efforts, and this tool will absolutely be able to leverage that expertise. So the answer is no, you don't have to, but the tool will certainly support you way beyond pretty pictures and graphs. So hopefully that answers that question. The question three, the third question that we have here is, how does Spotfire allow users to leverage big data? And I'm going to actually combine that a little bit with another question that came in around Teradata, and I'll throw that in within the big data conversation. So Robin, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, Spotfire has, I suppose, traditionally been known as a very much an in-memory tool. However, in Spotfire 5, we launched an in-database analytics as well. So, and we work with a lot of different companies. We work, obviously, you mentioned there in the question, can we leverage Teradata? Absolutely, we can. It's one of our one of the in-database databases that we work with. We also work with DB2. I know loads of people are still using that. And also things like Oracle Exadata. We probably, in an entire 5, we've extended out the number of databases that we can work in database with. Pretty much though now Spotfire, and this is very unique within this market, has 3 ways of putting and analyzing data. Obviously, one is in memory, where you're using the RAM within the PC that you're working on. Obviously, within in database, where you're really looking at very large data sets. But also, we have this kind of hybrid method as well, which is what we call data on demand, where you might be using and producing visualizations in your web player or in your Spotfire professional client. And when you actually want to then, and they could be aggregations of billions of rows of data from, say, Teradata, store performance or something like that, right up to the top, to regions. And then as soon as the user sort of clicks on that and wants to explore the data more, then Spotfire really leverages the power of the underlying database and then can pull back the underlying data into memory, and then you can start using that. So there's really 3 different ways, depending on your use case, depending on the amount of data you've got, that you can actually leverage the power of Spotfire.
All right, great. Thank you. Thanks, Robin. The last question that we're going to take here is, you've mentioned this, but can Spotfire connect to SAP, and how does it do that? So I know it was probably fairly small in the text, but that one slide that we talked about the architecture, the bottom line is the answer is absolutely yes. The component that we would need to talk in more detail with is around something called data services. There are a number of basically applications for SAP and other ERP systems such as Oracle E-Business Suite, Siebel, Salesforce, et cetera, that this application data services can speed along the access into those fairly complex ERP and Salesforce type of application. So bottom line again, yes, the product can, and there's ways to expedite that process through something called application data services. All right, well, that's all the questions that we have. I really appreciate everybody's time today, and hopefully you learned a lot. And thank you very much.